Welcome back to my channel. My name is Peyton Hawes, and today I'm going to give you a recap and review of episode 6 from season 2 of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. If you're new here, I am ex-Mormon. I live in Utah with my husband. Both of us were born and raised in the Mormon church. We did the whole shebang, got married really young. I was 18, he was 22, and we had a couple kids, and we ended up deconstructing the church and ultimately decided to leave and that it wasn't right for us anymore. And so that's why I think I'm a good person to review this show. I know the religion like the back of my hand and the culture and the upbringing. And I wasn't raised in Utah. I was born and raised in California, but my husband was born and raised here in Utah. And we definitely experienced church and religion and culture when I moved here and throughout attending since I've lived here. But so without further ado, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can be updated when the future episodes are released. I don't only make ex-Mormon content on my video. I've actually shifted away from that a little bit because it's been feeling real negative for me, but I do have a lot of ex-Mormon content on my channel if you're interested in that. And I also do some lifestyle content as well, and I just leave my kids off of the videos because I don't like to show them on my social media because it's just mine and my choice and my decision. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So this episode starts off with a really emotional scene where Whitney goes over to Jen's house and gives her space to open up and talk about some of the things that have been heavy on her heart lately. Jen shares that she's been struggling with what she feels like is prenatal depression. She's been crying a lot, overwhelmed, and she even had a scary moment the other day where she was in the car and she felt like she didn't want to be here anymore. She's trying to get rest and care for herself for the sake of the baby and her other kids, and ultimately decides not to go on the girls' trip. Whitney has been incredibly supportive to Jen. I think Whitney knows what it feels like to get kicked while you're down. And in this moment, she's comforting Jen, she's validating her emotions, and she even gets up and starts cleaning up the house, which as a mom, to have help with cleaning up the house, that's already amazing. If you're going through it emotionally, physically, what have you, or you're pregnant, something as simple as that, not like, what can I do for you? But just getting up and doing something is really something that I think a really good friend does. And when Whitney asks Jen, how do you want me to explain your absence when people are asking where you are during the girls' trip? And she said, you could just tell them that I'm pregnant and sick because that's at least part of the truth. Meanwhile, the rest of the girls are now headed to the girls' trip. And while they're on the party bus type thing, it does come up where people ask, hey, where's Jen? And Whitney just says that she's really sick. And a lot of people are saying, I'm not buying that she's sick and she's just being scared and she just doesn't want to own up to her actions. And so people just aren't buying it. And they're speculating that she's just scared or being a baby, which is especially heartbreaking after hearing about everything that she's been going through emotionally at home. And once everyone's back at this, or once everybody gets to the Airbnb and they're starting to get settled, the conversation turns to Jen again, and Whitney ends up sharing that she's pregnant, and the group is shocked, and not in a good way. They immediately start gossiping, like, what does Zach think? Isn't that such terrible timing? Someone says, oh, this is a Band-Aid baby. And Taylor's like, no such thing as a Band-Aid baby. A baby does not fix any of your problems. Which I had never even heard that was something that people thought. And I was like, why would people think that? Babies literally make everything harder. And I love my babies. I have zero regret for my babies. Give me all the babies. I love the babies. But they're going to test your relationship unlike anything else. So don't know why people think that. But the judgment is swift and harsh. While yes, I can acknowledge that Jen has made some mistakes and she has said things that are out of line, the way the girls are talking about her is straight up disgusting. It is so mean-spirited and hard to watch. I had the major ick just listening to all the things that they're saying about her every single time. There are times where you can talk about a situation, about a friend, or somewhere where you were hurt, and maybe even with another friend who was also hurt by the same person, what have you. And there's a way to do it where you're confiding and venting. And then there's a way that you can do it where you have ill intent to hurt, harm, and gossip. There's clearly a lack of compassion, especially given everything that she is going through. And this is not women supporting women, and it's just gross. So later at dinner, the truth box comes out again, and most of the girls are eye rolling. I was kind of eye rolling. Obviously, I'm here to watching the show because I'm eating up the drama, but it also, like, when you're thinking about it on like just a deeply personal level, are y'all trying to start fights? I just don't enjoy confrontation, so I eat it up when other people do it, but in my heart I'm just like, how are you doing this? I don't get it. But things get a little messy again, but not really to a huge extent that we've seen in the past. One card questions whether or not Whitney has good intentions and genuinely cares about the group and being a part of the group again, and or if she's just chasing clout. And Whitney responds thoughtfully and just acknowledges how it might look that way from the outside, but that she insists that her intentions are genuine and that she does care. And I feel like it really comes across that way. I feel like she's being really genuine. That was my perception of things. The next card asks Demi if she knew about the confession that Macy received in the Sinner Sunday confessions about someone saying that they slept with Brett while she was away last summer. And Demi brushes it off, and it says it sounds like it's someone who's unhappy and is trying to stir the pot, and she's confident that it's not true. But even if it was, the truth always comes around and she'll find out eventually. Then there was this confusing moment involving Demi, Jesse, and some behind the scenes drama about paychecks and the show itself. Apparently, Demi was willing to get Jesse kicked off the show for more money for herself. The details are super vague, but Jesse says that she was hurt by it and somehow they've already reconciled. And it made me think about the contrast on how harshly Jen has been treated. Like, Jesse forgave Demi for something pretty major, yet Jen can't seem to catch a break. And I just didn't really understand. I feel like there are more details that need to be had, but that sounds like a much bigger deal than what happened, what anything that has happened regarding Jen, and how Jesse and Demi could be tag teaming up on Jen so harshly for something so minuscule. It's just making that even worse for me. I don't know. Another card brings up Macy's baby mama event and asks Whitney if she regrets having not attended that, and from last season, if you remember that drama that went down. And Whitney says she doesn't regret it because if she hadn't made the mistake, she wouldn't have learned how to fix it. And Macy pushes back, saying she would have rather just heard a simple, like, I regret it and I acknowledge that I handled it poorly. And honestly, I agree. If you hurt someone, even if it was unintentional, it's okay to just say that you regret it. I think some people think about regret in such a huge way where they think if you say that you regret having done something, that you'd be willing to go back and change it to the point where you'd be okay with whatever repercussions your life today has because of that one change that you made. I think some people might think about it on a significantly deeper level. I have so many regrets from my high school years, and sometimes I can sit and think like, well, would I actually do things differently because I ended up with my husband and my family in this life that I really wanted for myself? And what if I go and make those changes and somehow I don't end up here again? And I don't think it has to be that serious. I could go back and have not said or done certain things that I wish I hadn't had said or done. Go about them differently in a way where I'm not hurting people's feelings, where I'm not hurting myself, etc., and have done something better and molded and shaped myself earlier on with the knowledge that I have now. If I were to take the knowledge that I have now to go back and make those changes and do something better, then of course I would love to be able to do that. And I think that's all that Macy wanted. You did something that hurt me, and even if it wasn't intentional, I would still like to hear that you wished you hadn't done that, not I'm glad I did it. And so I really get where Macy's coming from in this situation. And I'm not judging Whitney super hard here either. I think she's just maybe thinking about it a little bit differently, a little bit too deeply and too intently than is necessary. But I totally understand and stand by Macy in this a little bit more. But then someone asks Michaela if she sees herself ever reconciling with Whitney, and she just immediately says no. I was like, no surprise there. Who even asked that question? Whitney? I don't know. Fast forward to the next morning, the girls are all sitting at the table having some breakfast, chit-chatting away. Whitney ends up bringing up the baby mama question with Macy in the kitchen, and they get talking about it a little bit. They're just sharing their sides of the story and where Whitney's coming from, and Macy's sharing where she's coming from. And she's just like, there's so many times in my life where I was struggling and I was having a really, really hard time, and I still showed up for the people in my life that I cared about, even when it was hard. And that is what was so hurtful about Whitney not showing up, and where she's not going to hold her to that for the rest of her life. It hurts to hear that she wouldn't have changed it if she could, which totally makes sense. And some of the girls overheard the conversation in the kitchen. So when they came all back around the breakfast table, they're kind of like, it starts turning into a little bit of a cat fight about Whitney and her needing to take accountability for the things that she's done and said, and how she's still not doing it. And Whitney's getting a little bit upset because she's like, I've taken accountability for every single thing that I've done and said. And everyone's like, no, you're not. And she's like, well, can you tell me what I have not taken accountability for that I still need to? Because I'm sitting here trying and everyone is still mad at me. And how am I supposed to make it right or change it if I don't know what is on your mind that still needs to be made right? And she's like, and Michaela's like, everyone at this table can tell you something that you still need to take accountability for. And she's like, well, let's do it. Everybody take a turn. Who wants in? Demi, what's up with you? All this stuff. And is just trying to get people to tell her what she needs to do. And I could honestly understand that frustration too. We've all done and said things that we wish we hadn't done or said, and we have to take accountability at some point for our actions. And I think that's a really, really important thing that everybody should constantly be practicing, because we're not perfect and we do and say things we don't want to. And that's just a part of life. And if people are still mad at you and you don't know what else you can do, the conversation needs to be had. So I get it. But Michaela just shuts her down and she's like, it's not even worth it, because nothing about how I feel about you is ever going to change, because I don't believe that you're ever going to change. Demi says that she can see both sides. She understands how and why Michaela is still hurt and upset by the things that have happened, but she also sees that Whitney is trying to make an effort and put her best foot forward and do what she can to make things right. And so Whitney's like, wait, so if I invited you to hang out somewhere, you would? And she's like, yeah. And she had even said earlier that the reason she didn't go to Whitney's baby shower wasn't even about Whitney. It was mostly about not wanting to see Jen, which still kind of sucks to see. But anywho, oh, and then Miranda was totally taken back by all of this drama happening at the table. And she was just like, this does not look like women supporting women. And so she's like, I thought that's what Mom Talk was supposed to be all about, and that's not what I'm seeing. We then cut to a heartbreaking update from Jen. She is in a state of mental health crisis and decides to take a step back from Mom Talk to focus on herself and her pregnancy. And a message on the screen from production is halting filming with her out of respect for her privacy and to allow her to prioritize her mental health for right now. This scene hit hard. So many of the other girls don't realize how serious the circumstances are with her right now. And it's just a strong reminder that we don't really know what someone is dealing with behind closed doors. And no one deserves to be treated the way Jen has been treated, especially someone who has been a friend for so long and has been there for all of the girls. And regardless of these school mistakes that have been made, she does not deserve to be treated the way that she has been. And I think it's absolutely gross, the people who have been so rude to her. Later, everyone attends Macy's celebrity pickleball event, and so that was really fun seeing all of them support her and be there for her in that. Later, they all go to dinner afterwards, and Whitney brings up the drama between Jesse and Demi again about the whole getting her kicked off the show for a higher paycheck, etc. She's like, "Can you tell me a little bit more about that? I was a little bit confused. What are some of the details on that?" And I was glad she brought it up because, like, I was not understanding fully what was going on either. And I feel like really the same things were said. They didn't really go into a lot of detail, but turns out Demi believes that she deserves the highest paycheck and the biggest brand deals. And she denies having ever said it out loud. But a bunch of the girls end up saying, "I've actually heard you say it," or "I've actually heard that about you. I've heard that too. I've heard that too." And multiple people are saying that they've heard Demi say that she deserves more money or deserves the highest paycheck. Then Demi says, "Oh, it's no secret that she was a fan favorite last season." And Taylor snaps. She's seeing red at this point, and she says like that she has been extremely vulnerable and emotionally raw on the show, and she's even checked herself into a mental health facility because of all of the stuff that has been going down and the things that she's been talking about and the level of vulnerability that she's had on this show. And she does not think that Demi deserves more for just playing it safe on the show. She's like, "You sit back and you have all your commentary about everybody else and what's going on with them, but you are not raw. You are not vulnerable. Therefore," she's like, "if anyone deserves the highest paycheck on the show, it's me." This is Taylor talking. And she's like, "And I've never even asked for that." Which, go off, queen, because what an entitled thing to say from Demi. And Demi was one of my favorites last season. I felt like she was very mature and had really great advice for a lot of people, but you didn't get into juicy stuff about her and her life and her background. She was just kind of like, I don't know. She just seemed level-headed, and so a level-headed, supportive friend, and that's what I really admired about her last season. Cannot say the same thing this season. But now, after all of this is coming out and more girls at the table are hearing about it, trust issues are starting to develop between the group and Demi, because people are especially uncomfortable with her allegedly trying to get Jesse, her closest friend, mind you, kicked off the show. And I don't even know why I wrote allegedly on my notes, because they're both admitting to it. So this happened. And Demi opens up a little, sharing that her and Brett have been trying to get pregnant for 4 years, including some really hard, possibly IVF related experiences. It sounds like they didn't say that specifically, but it just sounded like that. And the girls are really supportive of her vulnerability, even if they're still unsure about some of her choices. And so this was just another moment for me where I was like, so Demi can do this huge, awful stab in the back level thing. And meanwhile, in the same conversation, all share an emotional space for her to be vulnerable and talk about this difficult thing that she's going through. And all of them can still be supportive of her in that. What about Jen? I'm still so confused about how Jen is being treated so poorly for something so tiny. It doesn't make any sense to me, and it's frustrating. The episode ends with a bunch of the girls wanting to go skinny dipping. Demi, I don't know if it was her idea, but she was supposedly on board and was ready to go skinny dipping as soon as they got back home. I guess she texted Brett about it, her husband, saying that she was going to. He gave her a phone call, and after the phone call, she ended up saying that she doesn't want to do it anymore. So people are like, "Oh, so Brett told you not to do it." And everyone's like, in a side interview, they're saying like, "Oh, Demi likes to act like her relationship is so chill, and she likes to get on all of the husbands and the guys for being so controlling of their partners when Brett is doing the exact same thing to her. When she's in a side interview, she's just like, I don't want to go on national TV skinny dipping knowing that my stepkids are probably going to see this someday. And for me, it honestly felt more like a healthy boundary. Demi might have not necessarily been thinking about that. And when Brett was like, hey, did you think about the fact that your stepkids might see this someday? Do you want them to see you that way? Or like, how do you want to be perceived? And like you didn't hear the conversation. I'm just presuming how it may have gone. And Demi might have been like, that's a really good point. I don't want to do that actually. And I don't, in my opinion, that's not trolling. I think that's just communication in marriage. I think that's a beautiful thing that we have in marriage. My husband and I, for example, I feel like I have full autonomy over the things that I do and say, where my husband also feels like he has full autonomy over the things that he does and says. And we support each other on our journeys. If we ever say that we want to do something or say something where the other partner is like, does that really align with your values? Does that make sense in this scenario? We're there to bring that up and remind the other person. And if they disagree, then it's like, oh, well, actually, I still feel this way because XYZ. I just want to bring it up just to make sure. I'm here to support you. Whereas if we're like, oh, yes, actually, that makes a lot of sense, I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to say that. And I think it's just healthy communication within a marriage. I don't think it has to be controlling, but that's also me just presuming how the conversation may have gone. We didn't actually hear the phone call, but I think a lot of people just all of a sudden assumed it was control when there's really no evidence or real evidence that leads to having to jump to control immediately, in my opinion. Anywho, I'm gonna go watch episode 7 and 8 and take notes on those. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps my little channel to grow, and please subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you hit that notification bell because you'll be updated when episode 7 and 8 come out as well. So please make sure to do that and help our little family grow. I really hope to make YouTube my main source of income one day for my family. I love being able to be a stay-at-home mom, and so for as long as I can do that and still be able to help provide and give my kids and family a really good life, I want to be able to do that. So if you wouldn't mind subscribing and liking the video, comment down below if you had any thoughts about any of the drama or the characters. What do you think about the Jen situation? Do you feel like people are being too harsh? Or do you feel like everyone is valid in that? What do you think about the Demi and Jesse drama, about Demi trying to get her kicked off the show? Has anyone forgiven Whitney, or do people still have a bad grudge against her? Let me know what you think about all the characters down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.